Welcome everyone to episode 3 of The Musicians In, a place where musicians and creatives come together to discuss all things music and music industry related. We'll attempt to give you tips and tricks as well as relay personal experiences, all in the name of sharing what we've learned over many years and just as many mistakes. This week we're talking starting a band, and I'd like to welcome my guests for this evening, Sarah Grant, Ben White, and just 2 wins away from the major prize, our returning champion, Adam Gorecki. Hey, everyone. How are we doing?
Awesome.
Hey.
Hey, mate. How are you?
Good. All right. Well, we're going to start with little introductions. Tell people who you are, where you're from, and we're going to mess with their OCD tonight and go anti-clockwise. So, Ben, you're up first, mate.
Awesome, buddy. I'm Ben White. Follow the Fox is our thing. It's a little 4-piece, female fronted. Just classic pub rock, standard kind of stuff. Nothing too serious, but that's us. 4-piece pub rock.
You. Awesome. Sarah Grant, your turn.
You're right. Yeah, so I front and run Pink Zinc Presents, which we're like a music collective. So there's multiple singers, multiple band members that can be out on one night. And I also work with other acts as well at White Tree and corporate bands, and do my own thing solo as well, just under my own name. Keeps me busy, usually. Not lately.
Which is where we met.
Yeah, right on.
The White Tree. All right, Adam, you've been here before, but I'm sure there's new people. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm co-founder of an act called Never Ending 80s. We're a ticketed event show that tours Australia and do a lot of a lot of big rooms and stuff. But we've had great opportunities to record in great studios and work with some killer people along the way. So it's kind of what I do. Haven't had as much time to do the solo gigs like I used to do. I kind of miss some of the solo backroom gigs, but with the tour life, it gets a bit hard with that. And now with no touring, you miss it all. So that's me.
Fantastic. So we're all, working, non-working musicians. So are any of you doing day jobs? Ben, you've got a day job, right?
Yeah, plumber. Plumber is my thing. Music's only more recent years. So I was always plumbing since I left school. Yeah.
Right, and awesome, man. And how have you been keeping busy, Sarah? Apart from bubs.
Whoa, yeah, mostly bubs. Yeah, I got a 9-month-old little girl. She takes all the attention. Yeah, that's great.
She's loving
really nice. Yeah, it's been nice to have family time. It's really cool.
And Adam, what have you been up to in the downtime?
There hasn't been much downtime for me. The last 5-6 weeks I've been recording. Got a couple of projects in the pipeline, so it's been recording beds at my home studio, and then we're heading into 301 next week to start laying down tracks.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so as I mentioned in the intro, we're talking starting a band. So I've got pretty much an essay written here of things we're going to get through, and we'll try and do that within an hour. But let's start at the conception of the band. Let's just talk about your current bands. How did you sort of arrive at the idea initially, and what were the factors you were sort of deciding on at the time? And we might kick off with you, Sarah.
Cool. So, yeah, the main early days of Pink Zinc started when I was studying music at Southern Cross Uni. Just got together with a bunch of mates and needed something to do in our downtime, and it ended up working really well. So that continued, and the way I've turned it into a collective is continually using that pool of musicians that I met back in the day that I was at uni, which is over 10 years ago. And kind of bring everyone in for some jams.
Awesome. So it was just a real sort of organic thing that happened.
Yeah, Pink Zinc was, yeah, for sure.
Oh,
I mean, another great way that I find if you're looking for new players is something like the jam nights. Lennox Head here, where I live, has a great jam night on the Thursday nights. And, yeah, you head down there, you meet some great musos. It's cool.
Yeah, that was one of my little tricks to getting in when I first moved up here was I went to a few jam nights and open mics and just met people, put yourself out there. It's a great way to do it.
Definitely.
How about you, Ben? How did you get started? What was the idea behind Follow the Fox? And was there any sort of deliberate things that you were aiming at?
Well, yeah, I guess I was deliberately aiming to play at pubs. It was just a childhood dream, and I guess it's slightly different for me in the fact that I'd never really sort of played music, or this is my first band, so it's just ticked over 3 years old, and it just sort of took off. So young Virginia, the vocalist, and myself, we did duos at cafes for maybe 2.5, 3 years prior to just adding a drummer and a bassist. And the two that we added from the start are still the guys we have. So it just clicked from day one. We added the drummer and bassist purely to, look, we play at cafes. Why don't we try and get a band together and play a pub once a month was the aim. And we thought, oh, geez, what if we get 2 a month? And sort of in a short space of time, it just sort of took off. So that was my aim. As a kid, I always just wanted to play guitar in a bloody rock band. And I've just struggled to... I got there pretty quick. I never really had an electric guitar up until sort of 5 years ago. It was just all 4-chord wonders at the cafe. And just, again, the jam nights is where I sort of got out of the bedroom for the first time. So, yeah, jam nights are awesome for several reasons, but certainly meeting others and just surrounding yourself with that bunch.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Again, it just sort of seems it sort of happened very organically, which is cool.
Yeah, it did. The other two, the drummer and bassist, are both sort of seasoned players, so they added a lot, took a lot of pressure off me. As far as playing went, they fill a lot of gaps, so it's just sort of, just happened. My little childhood dream. I don't know how long I'll do it for either. I just sort of picked some goals, wanted to play some events, play some outdoor gigs like the Echo, Brisbane Echo and Gold Coast Car Show. They were things I had on my list and I've ticked them off already. So it's just sort of, I've set some little goals and, they're probably not many big goals for others, but they're goals that I had. So I sort of got there.
Oh, man, cool. You have to do that, because without sort of goals and direction, you'll just flail, you're just going to go do the usual things with the usual bands and not get out there and discover the really great gigs. So that's a great story, man. Adam, so tell us the concept of Never Ending 80s and how that sort of came up and what was the process in putting it all together.
So I came from a bit more of a session sort of world. I was Melbourne based, played with a lot of guys there, moved to Sydney for a band. I was in a original rock band, and that kind of plateaued pretty quickly once we got to Sydney. And then I found myself, I befriended some local Sydney musos. A good friend of Rob and ours, our Pete Uber, he goes by the name of, his different aliases. And he introduced me to a bunch of guys on the scene and got me gigging. And it was great. It was good. And I was similar to yourself, Ben. I just was happy being the working muso. That's all I wanted to be. I loved it. I never felt like work, But after a while, I started getting a bit tired of singers dictating set lists, and nothing worse than playing a rocking show and losing the crowd because of a shit song selection. So a band that I was doing a lot of work with, the drummer and myself, got together. Dave Sleishman and myself got together for a beer, and we had a whinge and a couple of beers, and we had this idea that let's put a show together that's going to be more crowd interactive, fun, get people up dancing, having a good time. Don't let them rest. Let them just from the first song to the last song, all winners, no fillers. Leave our egos at the door. If they want to hear Jesse's Girl, we will play Jesse's Girl, and we'll play it at a high level. And that was the concept. And then it was about just assembling a core group of musos around us. And we've had a few come in and out of the band. But the core players, Jason Cruz, our singer, Dave and myself have been in the main stable features for the last 4 years in the act.
Yeah, man, it was definitely, you got ahead of the curve because there's a hell of a lot of 80s shows that came out after you. Like, obviously, there was some before, but, you know, it just sort of...
You experienced it yourself, Rob. We put the 80s thing together and we got a lot of resistance. All the agents whom I'd been working with for quite some time doing solo gigs and duos and stuff, and got to know through some of the band stuff I was doing, a lot of resistance to get us some pub work. So that's why we went the ticketed road. It was a case of, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to just live by the sword, die by the sword, because no one's giving us a crack. And of course, you know, it starts to do well, and we're pulling numbers and all the rest. And like you said, all of a sudden, all these acts start popping up out of the woodwork. And I know the same thing happened with yourself with the 70s show. You had this great looking concept, great show. And then, I mean, it was probably 6 months in, I started seeing Every Man and His Dog doing the 70s type rock show. So it does happen in our industry. There's, you know, it is what it is. I think you just got to kind of, stay ahead of the curve, like you said, but have something a little bit different, you know, a little bit of spice to what you do.
For sure, because Living in the 70s was born out of one of the most popular bands up here and on the coast, southeast Queensland and Northern Rivers, late for Woodstock. Won't get into all the horribleness that came out of that. But, you know, I basically, half of that band split came with me and half of them stayed. And I went, we're not going to copy what they do. Let's do our own thing. And that's when Living in the 70s was born. But there was the ready-made crowd for it, because up here, they're definitely, you know, especially Southeast Queensland, they definitely dig the older stuff, and the boomers are the ones that come out, spend the money and party. And in my experience anyway, that I've seen,
100%.
And just target the fun crowd, you know. And yeah, it's been hard work for all of us. It's been very hard work, but you know, seeing the bands come out as you probably would have, with I wouldn't say they're not stealing, you know, there's no stealing in this industry. It's just, you know, there's a good idea and everyone copies it, and why not? If you can do it, great. I'll have 10 70 shows out there if they're all pulling crowds, you know, because it's about the venues making money. And if people are coming out and supporting it, I don't care how many people want to piggyback, as long as the venues are healthy. I'm happy.
Yeah, for sure.
So, when you're sort of putting it together, let's sort of move through to trends and the popularity. Like Adam, we sort of touched on that with you, that people weren't really feeling the 80s thing. But for you, Ben, when you're putting that concept to follow the Fox together, was there, you know, were you taking things into account, like what was popular and trending, and what other popular bands were doing with their set lists, or your own personal tastes?
Yeah, there was, to a degree. I guess initially it was a matter of, and again, me coming from zero, just a matter of getting 45 songs together as a band, and I guess just slowly adding from there. There's just that core 40 songs that every band knows, I guess, which the other guys knew. It was more so a matter of me. I guess our band's been restricted almost from the start from my ability to play, I guess. There's plenty of songs I'd like to play and we'd like to add, but it's more so what can I actually play and learn quick enough to add. But again, I guess it's come together quickly. Again, just trying to maybe steer away a little from all the same stuff apart from the core, but maybe use some of those same bands, but just different songs from those bands, I guess, even. I guess it depends where you play a little bit, between Twin Towns or Beach Hotel, Byron, sort of thing. They're different. You know, Byron, we try and put on a full rock show, and having a female, we have our bassist sings too. He sings probably a third of the songs, just to break it up, but a lot of duets and whatnot. So we count ourselves lucky having two vocalists, I guess, that can sort of bounce off each other, and we do, you know, a lot of duets stuff just to try and add something a little different. But again, the aim was to play pub gigs. All the guys just want to play, and if that's what the crowd wants, as you say, if they want, what's up, that's what they get. But they just get it, at full bore. Whatever's, as you say,
Yeah.
it's about the patrons and the venue, and we enjoy playing. Doesn't really matter what it is for us.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because when I did like 10, 12 years in Sydney, and we had a band called Singled Out, and that was pretty much the thing. We were just over singles, and we sort of picked the second biggest hit of the band. Everyone was playing No Doubt, Just a Girl. So we played Sunday Morning, and Maroon 5, everyone was playing Harder to Breathe. So we played This Love, and it was just, and then that became a massive hit. But that was sort of the thing behind it. But eventually we got pulled into, when you wanted to do the biggest gigs in Sydney, you had to play the hits. So it kind of, you get pulled that direction. When I first went back to working in pubs, the first thing the kids said to me was, when you start a band, do you all download the same set list from the internet?
Pretty much.
So that's what Gen Ys thought we were doing, so quite funny. And Sarah, how about you? How do you go about sort of picking the direction and the song list for the band when you're kicking off? Are you picking, bangers, or are you doing a mix of things that you're going to enjoy playing and you think, a certain percentage of your crowd's going to like?
Yeah, we try to do a mix. I think the players I have are sometimes a little bit hard to keep entertained. Oh, that's my mum. Hi, mum. Yeah, so we really look for a balance of what we're keen to play as well as what we think people want to hear, which still includes plenty of bangers, but sometimes those real typical ones, I have players that really push back on wanting to do them, but they generally still know them. So if you're at an event or something that you feel like, no, we got to play that one, you can still call it. And I think that's important. You got to be able to play, what people want to hear. You can't just say, no, I don't want to play that.
Like horses.
But yeah. Well, I mean, you can love playing horses too. Yeah. It's just got to be, you got to be in the mood. If you play it every week, it kind of,
but if that's like you say, if that's what's going to work at that particular time of the night, just do it, and it goes nuts.
Yeah, totally.
At the end of the day, we're entertainers, right? And
right on.
If it depends on what it is you're doing, I think as an entertainer, if you're putting your own show together and charging tickets like I do, people are coming and expecting a certain thing. We do quirky versions, like we'll do a movie soundtrack night or we do an 80s versus 90s night. We do a bunch of different variations, but at the end of the day, play the songs they want to hear. If Horses is the biggest song of the night, play Horses. And so it's not my look. I don't sit in my bedroom and play Horses all night, but I'll play the hell out of it to an audience, to wannabe guitarists and wannabe singers and people that don't know anything about music, and they're gonna walk away, loving it. I think that's our job as musicians. I think any young musician wanting to get into the game is leave your ego at the door. If you want to do something arty, then go do something arty, but sell that, if you're playing in a venue and you want the crowd's love, play them the songs they want to hear. The mob rules, I think.
And we're supposed to sell beer and wine and spirits. And if playing Summer of '69 or the Horses or Valerie sells beer, then that's what you do. You're there as an extension of the venue. And you can, as we've talked, you got to check your ego at the door. And we've all learnt that over the years. I'm sure we've all said we've been in that position where we've gone, nah, man, we don't play that song. But you get to a point and you just realize that why you're here. And especially going back and running pubs. And, Adam, I know that band that you were in, that you were talking about. So I had a little chuckle to myself. But you've just got to be like, what does Bruce Lee say? You got to be like water, just adapt and become what you need to each night. And as long as the thing that killed me in Sydney was doing the same thing with the same band 4 nights every week. Whereas now I don't have to do that, and everything's beautiful again. All right, let's talk finding band members, because this is always a fun thing to do. Finding covers for everybody, or replacing a band member. Let's just sort of start when you were looking for the act, when you're looking to put the act together, and then sort of the challenges you've had as it's come along through the life of the band, and replacing those members or finding covers for them. So, because you're a collective, Sarah, I might start with you. Let's tell us a little bit about how you've gone about doing that.
Yeah, cool. Early days, it was all the same players every week. I would have freaked out if anyone couldn't make it to a gig. And then as it's progressed, people kind of move on, move towns and whatever, especially because we were all doing uni. So when uni finished, a lot of the boys did move away or got snapped up by like bigger bands. Like a lot of the boys ended up playing for Lisa Hunt and other acts or touring acts even. So that's what kind of started me on having to be flexible with players, and that kind of created like multiple go-to guys for me. So I had like a handful of people that were really strong on the set list, and then when I fell pregnant was when I realized I had to turn it into a full collective, so I started getting other singers as well. So I was lucky in the way that it had organically happened with my players, and cause I had those uni contacts, I had calls straight away for who I wanted on guitar, and we've got lots of monsters that moved into our area too. Like when the whole Sydney shutdown thing happened, we had heaps of crew move up this way, so there was so many great musicians that we can call on. And singers I found a bit harder. I've kind of got a few really strong singers, and
start me.
Yeah, I'm still kind of working my way through the singer side of it, really. But so if there's any female singers out there that are rocking, give me a bell.
Me too.
But yeah, but yeah, we also run it so that it's pretty much the female singer out the front. So she sings the whole set, whether it's 3 sets or 4 sets. So you've got to have someone who, is up to speed with being able to sing for that long as well. Like some of the boys can sing a handful of songs, but it depends who ends up on the gig with you, who's available on the night. So, yeah. I mean, yet again, those jam nights, I reckon, are the best way to go. You really get a feel for who's good, and you get to jump up and have a jam with people and see who you work well with. So, yeah, I definitely hit up the jam nights the most.
There's an agent up here that I'm quite good friends with, and here's a tip for people if they're looking for band members. He says the first question he asks them now is, do they have their own car? Because he's gotten people cancel gigs because they said, I share a car with 4 other people, and someone else I can't make it to the gig. So you can add that one to your questionnaire when you're auditioning musicians or, working your way through a list.
Well, it definitely helps to be like around multiple things too, like being good on the PA. People who are willing to jump in and help with the lug and all that, it helps so much when it's a team effort. If it's one person doing all the work, it just makes it tough, makes it a job. But if everyone's in there, it's just good times.
And change the name to protect the innocent or the guilty, Ben. But how have you gone about the last few years and getting a solid lineup and finding replacements or fill-ins?
Again, I guess I'm pretty lucky. It's been pretty smooth. Like I say, the 4 of us that started together are still together. And I feel we're still just, again, probably particularly myself more so, but improving every gig. So whatever song we're playing tonight, we played that same song but last week, but better tonight. Finding fill-ins. Again, we haven't had much of an issue. Again, they've been pretty solid and committed. In saying that, we've got a couple of drummers we call on, a couple of bassists, several singers, female singers. So I guess we've been lucky in that respect. It all sounds kind of boring, but people sort of say to me, how are you still with the same set, the same 4 crew, and it's all been pretty good. The guys have, been really good, and I don't know any different. Being my first rodeo, I just sort of put it all together myself. It's all my gear, all my PA. I do all the setup. The guys just sort of show up, but then we all pack down together.
We did the same.
Yeah,
I'm there 3 or 4 hours before the show, setting everything up, and then they help pack down.
Yeah, it's all part of it. And I'm a little bit far from a perfectionist, I'd say, but I like to having a plumbing business. I know what it's like to let a client down, so I relate that to letting a venue down, or you know what I mean. I just want everything to be right, I guess. So
Pete's just sitting there like throwing bombs. It's like I'm putting the best ones up, Pete. So okay, I'm the moderator here. So Adam, how about yourself? Because you haven't had many lineup changes, but you've had some you had a high profile female singer there for a while, and you've recently had to find a replacement bass player. So how's that all gone?
Well, we've had so we started out and we had a fairly solid run with a consistent lineup for the first couple of years. Female singer has been the hardest to hold on to, and that's got, I think, more to do with the fact that when you are a good singer, especially good female singer that can really hold your own. You have the ability to work in more projects and have a little bit more offers thrown at you and whatnot. And so it's harder to sort of tie one down and get that sort of commitment level out of anyone. Our show's a little bit different to the general sort of work in the pub scene and rotating lineups and stuff. We've always gone in with the angle, this is a band. It's a show, and we've built a fairly solid fan base. I think we've got 115, 16,000 followers on Facebook and that sort of thing. And we do, good sized shows. And when we have a fill-in or somebody taking over for a while, we do get bombarded with inboxes and people take it very personal and all the rest. However, we've been lucky and very fortunate to work with some amazing talent along the way. So that's been the blessing. And the most current lineup has been, everyone's all in and everyone's happy to keep doing what they're doing. It's a touring life with this show. Generally speaking, we're traveling either Thursday or Friday mornings, and we're not home until Sunday evenings. And we're catching flights here, there, and everywhere. And so it's a big time stamp for everyone. So it's a commitment's a big thing for everyone too. So that's kind of where we are at with it. As far as finding members, we held auditions. We put the word out first to players that we really like and respect. Some players like Pete who took over the bass role. It was no question in my mind. I mean, I knew personality wise. I mean, when you're living in each other's pockets, that's it's one thing to do a gig and everyone goes home. You see each other maybe once a week or maybe once every couple of weeks or something. That's one thing. But when you're seeing these people week in, week out, and you're tired and you're grumpy and you got a frog in your throat, you're hungover or whatever, patients get tested and people's personalities shine. So we found that it was personality first, and ability. Like you were saying, Sarah, female vocal. We got a male and female vocal in our show, and it's shared the songs. However, it's a big sing for both. We do a 3-hour show with a short intermission in the middle, and so it's a big sing. And so we try to look after our singers as best we can. We pay for extra, quality hotel rooms where we can, and if we can try to avoid long travel days, we'll do that. It's just about trying to look after everybody's health and mental stableness.
I do that. I always make sure the singer in my band has the biggest room, and if there's if there's an adjoining bathroom, an ensuite, then I make sure he gets that.
Well, you know what?
It's good.
You know,
But-
it might sound petty. It might sound petty, but we learned very quick in the piece not to have shared rooms, shared accommodations on tour. You know, as it was once pointed out to me, I'm a grown-ass man. I'm not sharing my toilet after a gig, you know. And it's like, fair call. So everyone, if it's more expense for the band, that's fine. At least then there's comfort, and you know, you can, you know, when you get home from a gig, you can spend some quality time on that loo if you need to. You know.
I just want to pick up on something you said. I just want to pick up on something you said there, Adam, that, you know, the audience wants to see the same lineup in a band, and also the venue managers want to see the same people too. They, you know, when I was managing and booking at Narrabeen, the one thing that used to get to me is these people would call up and say, can I, you know, because most of the time I just booked people I knew were good, whether they were friends or associates or whatever. When you're trying to build a venue, that's what you do. But the first question I said, do you have a solid lineup, or do you have 10 people you can call on depending on the gig? And, you know, towards the end there in Sydney, you had to have that because there wasn't enough gigs to maintain the same lineup. But I always used to like, because you could tell the difference. Well, I know because I worked
100.
every Friday and Saturday night, and I could tell when someone was reading charts. And, you know, even though the audience can't put their finger on it, they kind of get it too, you know, subconsciously. So
you're 100% right. And that's been my pet grieve, and one of the other reasons we kind of went down that road. Hats off to session guys that can jump in at a whim and get through a gig. It's a skill set, and it's brilliant, and there's a lot of talented people that can do it. But when you got 4 or 5 guys on stage and everyone's playing their version of Superstitious, it's nowhere near as tight.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near as tight as Ben White's band that's had the same 4-piece lineup. And even if Ben's saying that his guitar chops aren't to the level that he wants them to be, guaranteed it's going to be tighter than most of those chopped together, throw together bands. And absolutely the audience can tell. And again, if you're charging money for it, be it a wedding or even just the respect to the venue, I think it's pretty shitty when you throw a singer up there and they've got an iPad and they're singing off the charts, and you know somebody's paid good money for that. That's not right. Learn your gig, rehearse it, and smash it out of the park. You know,
it is like, but the world we're living in today, there's a lot more of that. Like I know Sarah and I do the White Tree, and some of you might have heard the Baker Boys before, and it's pretty much that the band gets selected on the singer based on our little showcases that get done, and then the band just gets put together, and they're all killer players, and it always amazes me that it comes off so well whenever I do them.
but that's like if you get killer players, it's really going to work.
Yeah.
But if you get a bunch of people that haven't, as you said, all play Superstition a different way, or kind of learn things one way and can't really adapt when they've got other players around, it makes it a lot harder.
Superstition's actually
solid.
Yeah, for sure. Superstition's the song that I audition bass players on, because that's when you know if they're good bass players or not. And if they play all over it, I go, it's not a clinic. See you later. The true test of a bass player, Pete, if you're listening, is how well you can sit on a single note.
I'll tell you something about Pete. You all obviously know that wonderful Prince song, Kiss. Yep. Every single bass player I've ever played with will slap the hell out of that song. And then you go listen to the original, and it's just a funky one note, boom, boom. Anyway, Pete joins the band, and I said to him after the first gig, I said, man, I have to tell you, you played the greatest bass line tonight. It made me cry. He said, which part? I said, the part that you stopped playing in the third verse. Like all of a sudden the song had air, it wasn't just slap and a bass solo. And I said, it was the greatest bass line I ever heard, man. And he goes, man, I'll play more like that for you, no worries. So whenever there's no bass on stage, he thinks he's doing me a favor. So
I know I had an experience where I had the great Richie Vez fill in for a week or two's worth of gigs down in Sydney. And for anyone who knows Richie Vez, he's just like the nicest, sweetest monster player. Plays with Diesel. And I've never played with a bass player who played less notes, but sounded like he was playing more than, there was more space than notes, but it still sounded like he was always playing. And it's just a lesson, it's just a lesson.
It's huge. But look, I just want to make that point. There's guys that can do that. Okay. There's great fill-in guys. That's what they do. That's their craft. The great Stuart Fraser. I got to do a show in Melbourne with Stuart Fraser from Noiseworks once, and I was just playing rhythm guitar in the background. And the guy came in and played, I reckon, 3 notes all night, and they were the best 3 notes of the night. So there's guys that just that have a knack for it. But I think depending on the show that you're putting out there, if it's a pub rock thing and it's the first, if you're doing a 4-setter and it's the first set's always the dead set, and there's hardly anyone there, play some of those ones that you're not as familiar with. That's fine if that's the gig. But if it's a show, I think no, you should.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll work our way. We've kind of been addressing some of these topics that I laid out. So let's get down to branding and promotional material. So, most venues, most agents, they want at a minimum an electronic press kit. They want to see videos. They want to hear audio. They want to see a Facebook page with, hundreds of likes and engagement or whatever. What was the setup process of all of that stuff for you guys? And I might kick off with you, Ben, because we haven't heard from you for a while. And what was the follow the fox thing? How did you build the brand and then sell it to venues?
I guess initially when we thought we'd had 40 or 50 songs together, and we thought we were good enough to go ahead, just approach one of the or several of the agents, I guess, initially, and I just asked for advice. Again, it was sort of me doing most of the work, so behind the scenes. So I just asked, what do I need? What do you want? They told me what I needed as far as video and audio and whatnot. So we got together with Scotty Watman, and he put our first bunch of videos together, 6 songs. We sort of just pulled apart and stitched together and sort of sent that off initially. And that was pretty raw. Looking back at it now, even though it was only 3 years ago, that was quite good. Yeah. So I guess we started with that, and then a song list, and but again, pretty basic. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Just kept chipping away, asking questions. What do you want? Then went to what's it called? One of the nights where the agents get a few bands together just to see how you go, play a few songs and whatnot, and just sort of went from there.
Like a Pushworth showcase.
That's who sort of got us started. Our very first gig was via Paulie Brown, Hinterland Hotel at Nerang, and I thought we hit the jackpot. I said, we made it, boys. Hinterland Hotel at Nerang. I know, but that was, again, for me, that was all new. It was all new, so I was just asking questions. Pushworth are really good at the start to help get us set up. Mikey Edwards at the jam nights, so got to play with him a lot. Scotty Watman's played a big part in that. Then when I got my head around a few things, I just started going a bit more direct, talking to the venues, see what they wanted, and see them halfway through the show. What do you think? Too loud? Too what? Just kept asking questions. I knew I was in no man's land as far as muso life or gig life or what. It's all new. So
that's a great lesson, man. Communication. You got to keep the communication with your venues. Very important. And how about you, Sarah, with Pink Zinc? That early on, what was, what did it look like? How did you sell it to the venues?
Oh gosh, we were pretty young and had no idea what we were doing. But yeah, we just got live recordings in the early days. Actually, that's still how I mostly go. But live recordings. And I remember taking my laptop in to venues and sitting down with people and trying to talk them into giving us a gig. but yeah, I definitely think you need some footage of your act. You need some audio of the act. Yeah, if you can get into a studio and get some clean audio as well as some live audio, I reckon is awesome. Like, just so they can hear, you know, what you are live, as well as having that, you know, really clean recording. But yeah, and then, you know, even working on a logo and having a poster that grabs people's eye, you know, so that if you've got stuff in the venue, people take notice of it.
Yeah.
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 And Adam, you're obviously next level with that. You would have had to, you know, hire ABC Studios and get all your rig into the big, the lift that was apparently built to fit 2 elephants in. And you know, how did that look? How did that first sort of promo look when you were trying to sell it?
Okay, so coming from the same place as Sarah and Ben and yourself, initially with just, you know, chasing gigs, absolutely, Sarah hit the nail on the head. I think live videos 100% the way to go. It showcases the band, but you want to at least have good clean audio, right? So it's easy. It's a snap now with digital desks. You can get a multi-track recording, take it into any mid-range studio for a couple $100, get a really good mix of your live recording. 100%. If you're starting out and you want to get gigs, do that. You know, for us with the 80s thing, content, good quality content, logo, you know, good poster image, you know, thinking about colors, thinking about poster placement, you know, where the images go on the poster. Video content, our video content, I've built a relationship with a video guy out in Fig Tree Films is his thing, and we got him to come along and film shows. As we were getting bigger and bigger and bigger, we got video footage of us playing. We got backstage. We got a whole bunch of really fun, cool, and silly, sometimes silly images. We got a great photographer who's part of the family, captured by Martin, who comes to. I think he told me the other week that he'd been to, I think, 80 or 90 shows, which is about on par with Pete and Danny, who joined us a year and a bit ago. So, I mean, they've probably done a few extras since, but you know, so we got so much photos, and it was about what type of photos we were getting as well. So we'd have the still shots of, you know, us doing something silly, the pose shots, but then also the live action shots, and not a shitty happy snap, like a good shot that's been cleaned up that makes you look like you're a rock star, right? Like you would look at those old magazines that got us excited. That's what we're selling to the people. We're selling it to fans. We're selling it. I'm not so much selling myself to venues anymore. I've got a booking agent out at Harbour that does all that hard legwork for us. We'll say where we want to play, and most of the time, you know, based off what we do, we'll get that opportunity. Sometimes not. People still don't see what we do as what they necessarily want for their venue, and that's fine. So there's still a lot of that proving ourselves aspect, even 4 years in. But yeah, content. This is the age of content. You know, yeah, people on their phones constantly don't have the same poster for 4 years straight. Every run, every couple of months, zhuzh it up, make it look flashy. And you know, if you are an act that has multiple members, showcase that, because people will get fixated on set players. So yeah, that's, if I've got any advice in that world, just quality, and a lot of it is the way to go.
Cool. I got some tips for people that if you're trying to do it on a budget, just get someone at a gig to take, you know, someone who's got an eye, like a half decent eye, and your iPhone or Samsung or whatever, and just take shots all night, like action shots of every band member. And then you get iMovie and you build a photo gallery movement just bang photo collage and record a gig. And luckily, I've got a mixer that does multi-track recording. So then I would just mix down 1 minute of a song and Ken burns the hell out of every photo and just, make it move and make it look good and have black and white and color and whatever effects on it, move it. Because sometimes it's not easy to get good video, and bad video can look really bad.
100%.
So it's sometimes best just to build a video out of good stills and half decent audio. Don't put bad audio up. I think you're better to have nothing than have bad audio. And just, I think that's a good way to do it on a budget and just try to sell yourself. I was very selective. I don't want to sound like a dick, but I was very selective when I moved up here, knowing that you could quite easily get stuck in a band that plays for $600 a night. And I kind of steered away from those, and luckily met a guy who had been playing up here for 20 years and had already got the price up to a good spot. We just had to come up with a product that was worthy of the prices that we could get from each of the venues. So, do your best. There's ideas out there. There's apps for everything. You can do a TikTok thing that can generate so much, or Insta Boomerang or something that can do so many things for you. Just make sure it's the right thing that you're putting out there, because it's there. Hey, Sarah's back.
Died.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. My computer's got a loud hum, so hopefully you can hear me over that.
Yeah, no. I can hear the hum, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Someone's been clicking a pen half of this, so
Oh, that was me. Sorry. I didn't realize.
Awesome.
All right, so let's talk about venues then, because they're 90% of what we do. They're responsible for our paying our wages, and whether that's a theater or a big auditorium that you're doing, Adam, or just the little sort of rooms that the three of us are doing. But what are you looking for? You're looking for something specific in a venue. For me, I'll just get you started, is that I'm looking, every time I look for a new venue, I look that there's a culture of live music there. I look that they've already got a following built. They got their regulars that come. They know there's going to be good entertainment. So if there's that initial 100 people in the venue every weekend, then I can spend $50 or $100 on marketing for each gig and get the extra 100, 200 people there and look like a genius. So are you guys looking to similar things like that? And I might, now that you're back, Sarah, I might ask that question to you. What are you sort of looking in a venue there?
Yeah, very much something that's got a good, live scene. It's so annoying when you get put in a corner with a TAB on behind you or something. It's just like, damn it, when you show up at those venues. But yeah, so looking for something that's got a vibe. If someone's got a stage, it's just creates, that separation straight away and somewhere for people to look. Byron's got a cool thing going on, like the Beachy and the Rails. They've got rid of their poker machines. I know that pokies make a lot of money for our venues, and that's awesome. But, those venues that don't have the pokie machines, you really see a difference in, people with you. They're there to be entertained, and they're not going to, they can't just run off and gamble for a little bit and get sidetracked. So they're with you all night long. Even the gigs that I've done in Western Australia are really like that as well. Venues are all doing something different, whether they're a brewery or, if they're trying to create a family fun vibe and they put a slippery slide out the back or something as well, so that the kids can run off and do that. And then they set the band up across the way so that, the parents can hang out with the band and the kids can still be off doing their thing. Yeah. So creating a vibe for sure. It's hard when you're doing those venues that aren't sure if they're a sports venue or if they're a live music venue. You get a bit lost in those ones. I mean, I'll still play them and hope for the best.
Send an invoice.
Definitely. That's the thing. Like having that background is There's just venues out there that they're trying their best. They're trying to be things to all people. They're trying to cater to the sports crowd, the dinner crowd, the late night crowd. And sometimes venues do that fantastically. They can do the changeover and they can turn the venue from one thing into another. And then there's other venues that are just, they're not switched on at all. They don't change the lighting. They don't turn TVs off. And it's really, for anybody listening, it's sort of the first thing you need to do is you need to pay respect to whatever you're doing, whether it's food, pay the due respect to it and you'll get the most out of it. It's like
Some
anything. Sorry, Ben, go ahead.
I was going to say some of those venues, like you say, where you feel like you're just put in the corner, they have to have music. They got the gaming area and the whatnot. So some of those venues wouldn't even have music if they didn't have to. And you feel that in some of the venues. You think, oh God.
And sometimes it even works as well. Like they've got their TAB in a different area and you're in the corner and it drags them all out and they come out and have a good time and listen to music. It can be hard to know which ones those venues are going to be. You got to go into the go.
That point of venues putting you in the corner and they don't want you to be there, just because you're playing in the bigger room doesn't mean that they want you there. When you've got 500 patrons in their sold out room and you're high-fiving and you're going in thinking they're going to be maxing, they're looking at you going, I'm getting paid $20 an hour and you've just made my night hard. Right? And you do. You walk into some venues that have that attitude and it's shit. But I got a great story about Back Against the Wall, TAB. I used to play this gig in Coogee every couple of Sundays, and every Sunday I'd get up and I'd play and they'd have the horse racing on behind me and some bloke would just go me and it's the same guy every Sunday. Come on, mate, turn it down, I'm watching the sport. They're paying me to do this, mate. We know each other. I know you by your first name. It's painful. But yes,
I don't know what it is about Coogee, man. We did Melbourne Cup one year as a trio at the rugby club, and we had one guy yelling at us, going, "Turn it down, it's too loud." And I go, "Okay, well, no worries, turn it down." He goes, "It's still too loud." So I turned the front of house off, and we just had the fallback coming back, and then a guy came up and he goes, "You know what? You guys sounded really good before, but now it sounds like there's a blanket over everything." And I go, "Yeah, because you just hear in the back of the speakers because we're getting grief that people can't hear." And we used to have a few venues like that, and we'd have a competition on how quiet we could be. We go, let's see how many songs before the manager comes and asks us to turn it up. And we play that game. You just have fun with these things sometimes because you have to still look like you're having fun. And if you can invent a game between band members so it looks like you're still having fun and smiling and laughing at one another, then you're going to win. In the long term, you're going to win.
It's pretty funny when you can hear the electric kit. Just all you hear is rubber pads
slap.
It's pretty sad. We all got to have a laugh at that.
Yeah, that was the big turning point for me. Going really full on with the ticketed thing. I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We're doing ticketed shows, and I was doing the Sunday sesh and Thursday night gigs where I wasn't loved and my ego was getting battered and bruised, and I just felt like if you don't want live entertainment, and they don't, and it was fine when this was paying my way, but when it was a case of I do this because I love it, it was the search for the right rooms for a long time. I remember there's a great room in Crow's Nest. Name slips my mind, but there's a room in Crow's Nest, and they wanted specific acts, and they did even give you a repertoire concept. So they go, this month we're going to do the 27 Club. So if you could do a bunch of songs from legends that died at 27 to fit the theme, not the whole show, but just a few songs. They had interest, and the people came to see the acts that they had selected, and I was part of a group of about 8 or 12 regular musos that played there, and it was a really great vibe. Those sort of venues every day of the week. Again, one that didn't have pokey machines. You had bar staff that loved what they do, probably a muso more than likely, or just a music lover. That's fantastic. But yeah, it is part of our job description to grin and bear it, because it's not work. Remember, we're not working. You know, we're just there.
No, but they'll bail out airlines and tell us we don't have jobs that don't need government assistance. You know,
That's right.
Let's move on to promotion and sort of maybe each of you tell me what sort of avenues you use to promote your gigs, and are you working with the venues as far as the marketing? Because in my opinion, it's a team effort, and it's, you know, you're pretty much working with one hand tied behind your back if you're the only one doing the promotion and the venues aren't doing that. They've been amazing up here for us, you know, matching what we do. But what do each of you, or maybe start with you again, Sarah, of what social media avenues you've looked at, and do you use paid marketing, and what's your social media engagement?
One of my weakest points, really. I reckon you'd have the goods on this one, Rob. But yeah, I mean, I use, you know, Facebook and Instagram a lot. I sometimes pay for things depending on the gig and how much support we've got behind it. And then I've been doing events as well, just so that there's that constant reminder that people get of the gigs. I find the events section on your Facebook works quite well. And then hitting up like the local, you know, like we've got Echo down here, you know, so that you can get in the gig guides in the local areas. There's gig guides online as well that you can reach out to and let them know when you're playing, where you're playing. Yeah, but as I said, I don't think that's my strongest point by any means. I try to make sure I'm letting the audience know when we're coming back every time I'm at the gig, so that they get that heads up right there and then. But yeah, give us some tips.
Yeah. How about you, Ben? What are you doing?
Exactly all that. Facebook probably more so for me. I'll do the odd paid one. And again, it's probably more off the back of I'm just excited to play, say, Beach Hotel at Byron. So I'll stick a paid ad around that area just to try and create. I was doing paid ads early on too, and I probably shouldn't have been. More so just to build that brand. I like the idea of the gimmick side of things, and I have Follow the Fox hats and shirts and guitar picks, and I have stuff that I just throw away at the gigs. Whether they just stay on the floor, I don't know, but I just feel like, and I let the venues even know to say, do you mind if I just throw, you know, and they're all keen for it, no doubt. It's, you know, it's not coming out of their pocket, but again, it's, yeah, probably Facebook and Instagram, but more so Facebook. Early on, again, I was spending hours at night laying in bed with the iPad in my face, just doing up posters that maybe a couple of the agents sort of were asking for back then, that they don't so much at all now. But I still do it. And as you said earlier, I change them up, just try and keep them a little bit interesting. And again, I keep using Byron for an example, but they put those posters on the wall outside the loo there, so you want something that sort of you know, people can see.
Yeah,
nice and big and clear. But yeah, no, I'm happy to do a paid ad, no problem. Just to try and help build for us and the venue, for sure.
Well, I might jump in here and leave you to last, Adam, because you're you know, you've got to sell tickets, so you're probably a lot more sort of deliberate with what you do. But I sort of build in marketing into the band's fee. So when I'm quoting a gig, I will tell the venue, you know, that price includes a $50 Facebook marketing campaign, you know, targeted to your area, your patrons, digital as well as physical posters if you want them, an event, and boosted posts. For anyone wondering, if you do a post and boost it, you get a much better engagement than trying to boost an event. People just see events build better organically from what I've seen. Other people might have different experiences, but I've just found that just let the event do its thing, but get it up there at least 6 to 8 weeks out so many people can see it and put it in their calendar, or say interested, click whatever they need to do. and boosted posts, tags, all those sorts of things, tag the venue in it. And then your digitals should be, think about a venue. When you walk into a venue, there's some screens are portrait, some screens are landscape. So have all your promo in both portrait and landscape. Insta, you'll get more views if it's in portrait these days. Facebook likes to see landscape. Just all those little things that have worked for me. And I will promote every gig. I will pay promote every gig because I see the difference. And it might just be 30 or 40 people different in the crowd, but that's where the venue makes their money. That's the cream on top. So you don't want to be missing that 30 to 40 or 50 people that an ad can bring in on top of what the club's database or database club or pub's database is going to attract. So, yeah, they're just some of the tips and the things that I do. How about you, Adam? You've got to sell tickets. So you tell me tell us what your plan is.
All right. So I'll start with something you started with. You said there, Rob, with factoring in a budget of marketing. We often, for the most part, have that negotiated in our contracts with the venue for them to contribute or have some sort of contribution to marketing. We also have a pretty thorough game plan out of the gate to what we want the venues to contribute with and what we do. It's all about reach. Facebook is, for my demographic, late 30s to mid 50-year-old women. They're on Facebook. And so all of our marketing, I would say up until about mid last year, 99% of it was all only on social media, Facebook. We started branching out a little bit more with radio and TV ads because we were coming up against some stiff competition with Elton John's tours and Cold Chisel tours in areas that we were playing, which was quite, something we hadn't encountered before. When you're playing a Tamworth show and the night after you or two night after you is Cold Chisel, you're up against stiff competition. So we had to pull out every rabbit out of every hat for that. Fundamentally, we boost our events. I get good traction from boosted events, and I angle my marketing to a demographic. We're pretty black and white with who our demographic is. It's effectively 40 to 45-year-old women. We try to get the younger girls in as well with our 80s 90s show, and that's been a godsend in later dates. When we've done a bunch of 80s 90s shows, we've had a much younger follow-up 80s show audience. But for the most part, we angle to a specific demographic. We don't get the support and the love from every venue, and that's a little disappointing. I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily a malicious resistance. It's just a lot of people are set in their ways. Older venues maybe have older CEOs that don't understand how social media works, and so they don't put any weight behind it. Others, some of the big corporate venues that are owned by a big conglomerate, usually there's two things they do. They'll have some handle of it in-house, but most they offset to a third party, which then starts to get really frustrating because in our situation, you've got us, the band, me marketing. You've got agency who then communicates to promoter, who then organizes it with venue, who then sends it to a third party. And so because of that chain and the legal and ethical approach to things, we're not often allowed to communicate directly with the venue. So it's a bit of a process to get to the people we need to talk to get the results. And I often sell it like this: when we do get somebody on a marketing meeting, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to fucking hear it, sell the show and hedge your bets. We got a successful show. We got a big fan base. If you market it, it's going to sell it quicker, and then you can focus your energy on another show. and it's just about trying to get everybody on the same page. And occasionally you'll find an amazing person at a venue or a marketing manager, and then they move on, and so it's like starting from scratch the next time you're in the room. So it's a frustrating world I live in. I live on social media when we're touring. This if anything, this coronavirus thing has gotten me off Facebook. I'm still on it, but I'm not nearly on it like I was. But interaction with your fans, interaction with new fans, getting them to not just sell them what it is you're targeting, but throw up some funny memes and some live chat stuff. This stuff that you're doing here, Rob, is brilliant, and some views you might only get 20, 25, and then I've seen on your performance stuff sometimes you're in the hundreds, and that is so much more valuable. That connection is so much more valuable, but everything's important. So posters on the walls. I mean, how many venues I've sold out ahead of time and I've turned up and they don't even have my fucking poster on the wall. and you got a venue manager going, but it's sold out. What do you care? I'm like, because we're holding an event here. And so people should know that the show's sold out. It's good for you. It's good business for you. I mean, if I was a venue owner, I'd every day of the week be saying that show's sold out, that show's sold out. My venue's popular, right? I've got the best shows coming in. I've got the best acts. I've got the best food, the best drinks, be at my venue. Trying to convince people that is important is hard work. So,
well, you know what that is, Adam? That's a passive income. So if you can just have posters that say sold out, it attracts people to your venue that may not usually have come there, and they're like, oh, this place is happening. And it also attract more people to your band. And it's a win-win.
The offset, man. I mean, there's been times where we've played venues that are just sort of starting up and they've gotten us in to help get the ball rolling or whatever. They've had a couple of sort of weekends, or they do a one a month kind of thing. And so have a couple of week ones, and they get us in, and we'll suggest, and again, we're working with a great agency who has, Diesel on their books and Lisa Hunts and all these great artists. And so they'll put in a good run of shows, and guess what? That venue is selling out or getting near sold out shows, and it's kicking ass. And then you see their social media, the venues that we sell out quickly on, like we did for the Night Quarter that time, 2,300 people or whatever. Their social media marketing was sensational. Like, we're pushing the crap out of our end, but to have that love and support and the coolness of the venue. I mean, whenever we were touring Gold Coast at the time, she'd say, come in, let's do a video promo. And so we'd go in and we'd shoot a promo in character, because we dress up in our 80s gear, and film a promo with her and some of her staff. And it was, I mean, I've gotten so much legs out of some of that promo stuff. I still use some of it, I can't stress it enough. Yes, pay ads are great. Posters are fantastic. If you can afford radio or negotiate with the venue, sometimes they've got these things in place. Ask the question. Do they have EDMs? The email out to their members and whatnot. Ask the question. Can we be a featured ad on that? Here's the content. Just put that in and send that out. That stuff is so valuable. And then obviously when you work with ticketing companies and whatever, generally you have EDMs that you can do through them. It's not as easy as say, can you send that out? But you can always ask the question. Usually it's off the back of a run. So you go, oh, we're doing this many shows through your ticketing company. Can we do a big mail out for that? But I don't think, the fact that I'm ticketed, before we were ticketed, we did do the free rooms with a fixed fee. And I had to take some pretty very underwhelming pays where I wasn't getting any money, and I was paying basically the sound guy and the singers. And me and Dave were just sort of turning up, but we were still paying for ads and stuff. It's absolutely, like Ben said, brand building. If you have a strong brand and people identify with your brand before any others, people are pretty loyal. They'll give other things a go, and rightly so, but they know yours is the one that they want to come back to. So yeah, don't be afraid to spend a bit of money on yourself and back it, you know. So.
And free engagement too. At the moment, you know, we're kind of trying to stay connected to everybody, our regulars, and that's sort of why I'm doing these things and trying to hone some other skills, but also doing the live stream, is that it just trying to keep that hunger up from the audience. So not that they'll necessarily forget about you, but that there's a ready-made audience when you come out, that people are just like, oh, this guy's given, this band's given us something while we've all been in lockdown. Let's go out and support them later.
What it is you're giving them your passion for what you do. And I mean, we do a online trivia. Jace is just brilliant with his thing. He does his online trivia, and we get, anywhere from 100 people to 50 people playing at any given time. It's not like outrageous numbers or anything, but they're interacting and having a good time. But when we tour, the amount of people, that random people at the airport, or if we're sitting for breakfast or lunch in the town that we're playing or whatever, how many people recognize him and come up to him and want to get a photo or a handshake or whatever because of that, solely because of that. And obviously they've seen the show a few times and whatever. You feel like a bit of a role. He gets it. We get ignored, but you feel like a bit of a rock star, and the reason for it is that passion, like we were saying, we turn up to venues and the staff go, geez, you're already dressed up in your 80s stuff. You're like, no, actually, I just dressed like a 14-year-old boy from 1980s. That's how I dress. But they see that passion and they get excited by it, and I'm sure it's the same with you, Rob, with what you do. With the podcast stuff, especially, I was a little bit not on the side of performing live, because most of it's pretty dodgy. As far as live feed stuff, especially if you're going through an iPhone or whatever. Visually, it's a bit dodgy. Audio is a bit dodgy, and I don't think it does yourself best justice. However, yourself have nailed it. So hats off to what you've been doing, man. I think it's fantastic. And another working muso that I think smashed it out of the park, and his is slightly different because I don't think it's as live, is Peter Northcote. He pre-records his stuff and he does this kind of format, and he puts out good quality content. And once again, it was one of those situations where you go, well, that's why people look at him and go, that's a good product. I will go see him or go see his act. Or even I'll book him, or however you want to look at the work that comes from it. So I think it's just important to back yourself 100%.
Yeah, it's been a learning experience. I started with just the phone and a couple of speakers pointed at it the first week, and then it evolved from there. But Pete just did a 4-piece live stream from his living room last night, and it was awesome. But up here great. we've got Scott Watman doing them up here from. He basically has a TV studio in his recording studio, and they've been doing fantastic stuff there. And he's just starting to get some local bands to go in and do their thing. Ben's back with us now, so we're gonna do our last subject before our final question, and that is venue reports and follow-ups and rebookings and how we sort of go about that. As a hotel manager, my advice is, don't follow up on Mondays, okay? Don't follow up on Mondays. They're doing the books. They're doing the take. If it's an ALH venue, they've got a stack of paperwork like this fat to get through. Admin's tied up just trying to send your invoices into head office. And the venue manager's got all their reports to head office. So there's at least a dozen of them a day. So Mondays, just stay away. Just sleep in, whatever you got to do, go to the beach, go to the pub, whatever. Just enjoy your Monday off, and then, follow up on a Tuesday. Tuesday afternoon's usually good. Don't call during lunch. So a lot of the times managers are in the kitchen between 11 and 3. So the windows, there are windows. Find out what they are, and again, ask those questions. And don't get upset when they don't reply to return your calls, because man, I was doing 80-hour weeks when I was the venue manager, and it's almost impossible to get back to everybody in a timely fashion. So don't take it personally, but yeah, keep communication up and see when you can do it. Just be patient. So Ben, I'm going to unmute your mic because you were getting some feedback there. So what's sort of your process with following up and checking reports and things like that?
Well, exactly that. Try and think of those things. The Monday morning thing, avoid obvious stupid times that they're not going to be interested in as far as, following up with the venue manager. I guess that's how we got a lot of our gigs, was from me chasing them up and seeing, again, just asking what we did. Was that what they wanted? What would you prefer? What should we change? What should we... but definitely just keeping that communication open. I guess... Drop the phone. The phone actually went flat before. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just avoid those stupid times. Just try and be in touch with them. I often, because I work plumbing and driving around all day, I'll often drop in and call in, flick in a message, but drop in, see them face to face. But yeah, you definitely need that communication. You can't just do the gig and go home and forget about it and wait for them to call you back. There's too many bands out there trying to get in their pocket or get in your spot. So definitely follow up, see what they want, and give them what they say, whether you like it or not, I guess.
That's right. Don't think you smash the gig and then you go, I'm just going to sit here, wait for the phone to ring.
No, never.
And how about you, Sarah? What's your process of? Sorry, Ben, I'm just going to mute your mic again. What's your process of following up and getting rebookings?
Yeah, I like what Ben said about, dropping in and seeing people. I think that really helps with building a relationship with the venue if you can. I mean, you clearly can't do that with every venue when you're traveling around and whatever. But yeah, I normally try to call. I probably go for a morning call, really, and try not to spend too long on there so that they can get back to their orders and all the other stuff they got to do. But yeah, never call on a Monday. I'm probably not good at a Tuesday either. I need those couple of days off too. And they're doing other things. But big on the emails. People can get back to those when suits them as well. So, and yeah, I'm not someone who's pushy on them by any means. Email someone and just wait for the reply. They get back when they can. And if you don't hear from someone within a week, shoot them another one.
Yeah, great. That's great advice. I know for me is that I brought my Sydney work ethic up from here, and that is when the email goes off or the phone goes off, you pick it up, you reply instantly, because you have to assume that they've emailed 10 other bands for the spot. And if you get back to them first, the gig is yours, So just don't go, oh, that's great. I'll get back to them later. Or I'll get back to them tomorrow or whatever. We've got our officers with us all the time. So just reply to them as quickly as you can. We've all got our calendars on us, everything. So make sure that you're as in touch with all that stuff, and you can give them a yes or no within minutes, because it is the difference between you getting a gig every 2 months in a venue or every month or every 6 months, because you miss the window when they're booking. So yeah, that'd be some advice. How about you, Adam? How do you go about following up on reports and getting rebookings there?
So when I was more in the other world, absolutely professionalism, emails, following up, be polite. I can't stress that enough. Send emails that are polite. Don't have slang or curse words or anything like that. It's not a good look. Okay. Yeah. I think letterheads are really, really quite effective too. So if you do have a letterhead, you can set one up on your email. That's a good quality thing. Emily from accounts, my partner who does all of our books, sets all of that stuff up. So everything is formal and professional, and I don't touch the email anymore. I let her do all of that. I'm a terrible speller anyway, so it's a good thing. As far as the way the Never Ending 80s works, every Monday, or I think we moved it to a Thursday when we'll still a Wednesday when we were still touring. But every week we would have a phone meeting with management, agency, myself and Emily, and we would discuss the venue, our experience at the venue. Is it worth us going back to the venue? Do we like the way do we like how it all unfolded? If not, are there ways of improving? And then the agent would reach out and say, you want to lock another one away? We've been fortunate enough that we've built great relationships with a number of venues across the country. So we tend to have a couple in the books already. So usually we're rolling into the next one anyway. So we'll be marketing the next one at the show, or if we've sold that show out early, we'll be marketing the next one anyway. So that's good in itself, but it's also where people get complacent with marketing side of things. So it's important to have that touch base. Are we getting what we want from the venues? Did the venue get what they wanted from us? I mean, there's been times where, we thought we delivered what we needed to deliver, especially in the early days. You sometimes getting two bits of information, especially if an agency is involved, like when we were doing the free room stuff. You think you've smashed it out of the park. You've played to 150 punters and they've had an absolute ball, and then you're getting told the venue doesn't want you back. And so you gotta sometimes question, was it us? Was it them? Was it maybe that, we're not fitting in with what they're after? So it's great if you can have that one-on-one relationship with the venue. If you're starting out, I would encourage it more than anything. However, there are some great agencies and trustworthy people that are worth building a relationship and a rapport with, and they'll be brutally honest with you. I remember doing solo gigs and I got calls from agents and they're almost in tears telling me that the venue doesn't want me back because I didn't fit into what the venue wanted, And I always, you got to cop it on the chin sometimes and say, all right, cool. I'll, they wanted more pop songs and I was doing too much Pink Floyd. That's cool. I'll wear that.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, I was always told not to believe the good reports and don't believe the bad ones. It's usually somewhere in the middle. And I have one more tip before I ask my last question, and that is any email that you send to a venue, include your avails at the bottom. They just may have something that they're thinking about, an event night, or they just have a hole, or they might have just got a cancellation. And every follow-up email after the weekend should include your avails, because I think 9 out of 10 of the emails that I send follow up with the avails in it, they'll pick up a date or two from those avails. So that's another tip for if you're starting out there or don't think you're getting as many gigs as you should.
I'd like to add to that, Rob, is absolutely 100%. That's what I used to do when I was especially chasing those 8 gig a week working warrior stuff. I loved it. I love following up. Don't put all your avails in there. Be selective. Look a little look a little bit unavailable, if you know what I mean.
That's a good piece of advice.
If you want to fill that Wednesday, don't give them all your Fridays that you still got free. You know what I mean? So just sometimes be a little bit.
That's for the Orient, by the way.
Yeah, this is exactly this is where it's all coming from.
And how about you? Got anything to add there, Ben, that you picked up on?
Say that again,
Ben?
buddy.
Sorry, mate. I just wondered if you heard anything, picked up on anything, and you wanted to add to it.
Not really. Definitely the what Adam was saying there, the one-on-one. Actually, everyone said it. Get in there, see just talk to them, talk to the venue, see what they want. Definitely, just like what you said, always add your availabilities for sure. I'd imagine it'd be a pet hate for a venue to be chasing bands saying, what's your availabilities? If you've got them there in front of their face all the time and they're happy with your act, they'll pick you. And that's been sort of proven from my end and going direct. 98% of our gigs are direct. I pretty much think Treasury Casino is about the only one we get via an agent. And that's purely just for, chasing up, reporting back, seeing what they want, and keeping the availabilities up to them, and they're happy to. It's just one job, I guess they tick off their list.
Great.
You know, they
well,
can. Yeah.
while I've got you, I'm going to go to this last question and let you guys go because we're almost at 90 minutes. So thank you so much for your time. But while I've got you, Ben, I like to finish up every week with a music recommendation. So it can be old or new, something that slipped under the radar, or something that you think could change somebody's life. Have you got a recommendation for us tonight?
Have to be Satriani, wouldn't it? Yeah, I was 12 years old before I even bought my guitar, and I actually bought Surfing with the Alien music book, tab book. 12 years old, and went and thought I'd have my first lesson. 12 years old, I started getting lessons just for a little while. But Satriani's always been my thing. Got the Chrome Boy sitting on the back wall there, but not that I can play much of it. But he's been he was probably, that's what got me into music. But certainly 80s rock all the way for me.
That's
bit
great,
of glam.
man. I'm going to go to you, Adam. What have you got a recommendation? I know a couple of weeks ago I sprung it on you, but this time I gave you some time to think. So,
I have been living in the studio recording 80s songs for the last 6 weeks, Rob. So if you want to talk songs, I'm happy to talk some Tina Turner with you, mate, and talk
Love
80s
Tina.
production. Actually, there's a couple of acts that have sort of popped under my radar, and they're not. I'm a guitarist as well, Ben. I love all that shreddy great stuff, but I've actually fallen in love with a lot of singers more than anything of recent days, and there's a chick called Aubrey Logan. Have you heard of her? There was a viral video that went up a little while ago. She did a couple of songs with Postmodern Jukebox, those guys. Have you heard of them? Okay, Postmodern Jukebox, they do like 20s and sometimes 50s versions of contemporary songs. And the guy who runs that band gets in these great singers, and they're all kind of young artists in their own right. They got their own sort of thing going on, and you get them in, they do a version of a song, and he's big YouTube sensation who gets to tour the world playing theaters all over the world. If you haven't checked him out, go check him out. He's got some amazing stuff. But one of the girls from that group, Aubrey, she's fantastic. She did a Don't Touch This song, MC Hammer, Don't Touch This. But she's a jazz musician, so it's all scat. So instead of rap, it's still rap, but it's with some complex bebop stuff going on, and it's like mind blowing. So I started listening to her, and I realized quickly that she sort of sits in both pockets. She loves the jazz stuff, but then she's got some really good pop stuff as well. And I highly recommend checking her out. So yeah, Aubrey Logan, is her name.
Cool. Right, I've written that down. Sarah, how about you?
Yeah, well, I guess in the current times, like John Cleary's been doing some cool live things where he puts up what he calls Quarantini Hour. He has a cocktail and sits down at his piano, and he talks a lot of he's New Orleans keys player, so he breaks it all down and talks about different eras and stuff. And yeah, he's cool to listen to. He's got a lot of history there that he shares on those live recordings that he's been putting up. They've been pretty cool. And another one I've been digging is Tom Bukovac, I think his last name is. He's an American session guitarist, and I'd never heard of him until it was lockdown, and my man's a guitarist as well, so he's been frothing on him a bit, and even all the musos that are writing into him and showing him, he every now and then puts like a blues challenge up or something like that, so you get a bunch of great players that just all send in some chops, and yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I think he just did a Premier guitar rig rundown or something. A couple of mates sent that to me. Yeah, he's a beast. For me, today I was listening to Elvin Bishop. If anyone knows who Elvin Bishop is from the 70s, fooled around and fell in love. I've just been trying to find these random 70s acts just to kind of some things that I missed, and what else was I listening? It was Stevie Wonder's birthday, so I listened to a lot of Stevie Wonder yesterday. And you may on YouTube, you may have seen it, the Tiny Desk concert series.
Yeah.
If anyone hasn't seen those, check those out. They're
Yeah.
just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think there's another one called From the Van, and they have a couple of bands that come in and play in a caravan. And there's a band called Earthless. Check them out. They play from the caravan. That's they're my discoveries for the night.
Yeah, cool.
So thank you everybody at home. Thanks for watching. Thank our guests. Adam from Never Ending 80s, Ben from Follow the Fox, Sarah from Pink Zinc. Stay there, guys. I'll finish up with you off air as I sign off. So, yeah, hold right there. I'll be right back. All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in for another week. Next week, we're doing a podcast special. So I will have Stevie Taylor from the Gig Life podcast. I'll have Matt Wakeling from the Guitar Speak podcast. I'll have Doug DeJong. And I will also have Gabor from the super, I'm going to get it wrong. Sorry, Gabor, but it's the super fun, awesome, happy time pedal show. He also has a podcast. I'll have all the links for the guys up later on tonight. So check them out. But until next week, take care and I'll see you then. Bye.